Hi boys and girls, it's Show back with another video. Just wanted to quickly cover the Man United-Man City game earlier today at 12:30. I just wanted to say basically that, enough is enough. Solskjaer, it's time to go. I obviously appreciate what you've done to steady the ship to the degree that you did. I do think generally the recruitment has been much better over the course of your tenure, and that's probably through you identifying players that maybe fit the United mould. I do think that some of the players at United, the way they performed in that game, wasn't fit to wear a United shirt. I do think that, but at the same time, I think it's largely down to the fact that there's no plan. The players seem like strangers on the pitch, and that's not just because they become bad players all of a sudden. That's mainly because there's no plan there. They've not drilled a system where players know where they're going to be. And I just thought this City game was a bigger contrast, like a starker contrast in terms of one team with a plan, one team that has experience, that has been well drilled, to another team that is a complete and utter shambles with no cohesion. Really a lack of communication and confidence, especially at the back. The Liverpool game, as much as that was 5-0, I felt that Liverpool did benefit from United just being loose at the back, having a loose system, and then just picking us off at the right times. I do think City, in terms of their general play over the course of the 90 minutes, played much better than Liverpool did, and really exposed us. I mean, in the second half, we didn't lay a glove on them, where you were trying to come out, try and maybe wrestle back a bit of pride. That never happened. It never materialised, and that's down to Man City keeping the ball so well. I just think Bernardo Silva this season, since there was rumours that obviously he was unsettled and wanting to leave because of lack of football, and I do think under Pep Guardiola that can happen to a lot of the players. Obviously, it's happening to Sterling now. Mahrez, I'd imagine, a similar situation at the moment too. There's sort of peaks and troughs in terms of your form at Man City, and whether you're in favour. And I think Bernardo Silva, he's just come back from the summer, and he's been, well, I would argue up there with player of the season thus far. I know Salah is absolutely the number one, but what I'm saying is, clearly City's outstanding player, and then obviously I would say that Foden is somewhere just behind that. But just the interplay. There was one moment late on in stoppage time that I think summed it up, where I can't remember who it was exactly. It might have been Ruben Diaz or someone like that, and he pinged a nice little ball from this sort of left centre back channel into, and it was I believe it was either Kyle Walker, who had kind of come inside and inverted himself inside to the midfield. And it came up at a kind of a middling heights where you thought, is he going to take a touch under pressure? What's he going to do with it here? And in one motion, he just volleys it first time, pings it straight back to the other centre-back. And it was that ability to avoid a press, go into a pocket, and then back out into another area of authority and of space to then, set the next phase of play in motion. And I just think that really was, for me, the thing that was most sort of damning of the whole performance was just that it reached a stage of just complete hilarity. Like, it was so funny. Like, I was laughing throughout most of that game. I was no longer traumatized because there's clarity in our demise at the moment. I know how we're going to perform week in, week out. I know where all the holes are, and because of that, I'm no longer surprised. There's no longer a shock there that really upsets me. I was just laughing through most of it. The fact that McTominay was taking 10 seconds on the ball against Man City's press and just getting, his pocket picked numerous times. Fred, you put him under a bit of pressure. He's allergic to receiving the ball in those areas and will just kick the ball out of possession. He would release it too fast, a bit like, a game of hot potato. And that's our midfield, and that is just crazy. And then, the fullbacks this season have been diabolically poor. Wan-Bissaka, I think probably shades it as the worst player. I know he wasn't a direct fault for some of the goals in a sense, but the lack of pressure on crosses, over pressing inexplicably, which is one of the reasons why Liverpool scored their first or second goal a week ago, should I say. Just seems to just completely be a bit of like a headless chicken, a loose cannon at the back, and it's at a detriment of everyone else. And then, if we just speak on the second goal, after De Gea had played so well, keeping us in the game, Luke Shaw, absolute nightmare. He was the main fault for that goal. Yes, De Gea should have saved it, absolutely. I'm not going to defend him to that extent. That should have been saved. But, the excuse is there that, he wasn't anticipating Bernardo Silva to be able to get a shot for the back post. Clearly didn't set himself properly for the save. And that was all Luke Shaw's fault. It's a case of, if you can't see who's over your shoulder, and there is maybe some lack of communication there, it's defending 101, right? In those kind of decisive areas of the pitch, it's not about taking risks or being clever. It's just about being decisive and making, the percentage decision, and that was to clear your lines. And totally avoidable. And I don't think we would have got back into it. People saying that was like the key goal or whatever. No, it wasn't. We would have lost anyway. It might have just incentivized City more to go for the throat a bit more in the second half. I do think they eased off and just started taking the mickey basically in terms of the way they're keeping possession. Could have, even with that lack of real intensity in the second half from City, they could have easily scored with Phil Foden. There was that chance that he dragged it off the post, and then there was the Gundogan one that I think was just before that, where Rodri, who had a great game, pinged the ball out to Gundogan. Who the hell was marking him again on that side again? Who knows where Wan-Bissaka is? And then he was available there, Gundogan, to probably make a one-on-one chance for himself, and he just fluffed the touch. So we got let off. And then the most damning stat of the day, which you've probably seen doing the rounds on Twitter and stuff like that, is the fact that that we had more shots on our own goal from United players than on the City's goal. So the only shot we had on target was the Ronaldo shot, the volley in the first half, and the two shots that we had on our own goal were obviously the Bailly own goal early on, and then the Lindelof one which De Gea saved. It's frightening. At the moment, it's just so comical and ridiculous. Like, it feels a bit like I'm having an out of body experience. It's that like surreal. That, like I say, largely you would say that we on paper we have the best squad that we've had post Fergie, and the fact that we seem to be building something, you thought, under Solskjaer, at least a feel good factor, and a kind of a desire to play for the shirt, like a responsibility to the club. And then the sort of the most frustrating thing is just the fact that there clearly hasn't been any development of a philosophy or a style of play, and as I'm saying is like the players under Pep Guardiola, under Klopp, they've largely remained unchanged. Like, the vast majority have stayed the same, and so they've, like, look at the way Keita, for example, Naby Keita for Liverpool, initially was not in the Liverpool set team, right? He initially didn't get in because Fabinho as well, to a lesser extent, but I think it's a similar situation. They both did not get right into the Liverpool starting 11. They had to be nurtured, they had to learn Klopp's system, and then once they had a complete understanding of what Klopp wanted, they were unleashed. Difference here at the moment, we had Van der Beek, and I thought we were dripping him in slowly last season, and I think there was patience from most of the fan base, because we thought it's a similar situation. There's a plan here. There's a long-term plan. Maybe it was just a case of just waiting to see if Pogba had left. Maybe it was that simple. But you thought that there would be a place for him. There's not. He's been lied to. We pulled the plug on his deal to Everton, and the fact that he only came on for the last 10 minutes when he could have came on with Sancho at half time, that speaks volumes. Solskjaer, the PE teacher reference is disrespectful, but it's not totally inaccurate. He has his favourites. He's not addressed that where players have gone in and out of form. Maguire and Shaw, Wan-Bissaka to a lesser extent. He was awful today, but maybe a bit more sort of up and down in his form. But certainly Shaw and Maguire on the left-hand side. When you play the back five, why can't Telles play? Why can't you experiment? Because Shaw definitely hasn't been as bad as Maguire over the course of the season. Why can't you play Shaw in the left centre-back position? If you're going to play that back five, why can't you use Matic in instalments more? Why can't you bring him on for 45 minutes, 60 minutes, take him off, try and control games that way? And Matic in that midfield, even for only 45 minutes, is a much calming influence, has the ability to hold off players as well under pressure. And has a much sort of better tactical understanding of where to position himself defensively. By having a player like that, even if it's just for 45 minutes, it can afford you to potentially play, a more creative force in the pivot, like a Van der Beek or a ball carrier in Pogba or McTominay. But even that being said, any kind of personnel that would have gone into that team, unless they build a system where the players know where, like the fact that if I win a ball in a certain area, or if I decide to ball carry and I burst into a certain area of the pitch, there needs to be an understanding of where the runs are coming from. And if a team's well drilled, you go into a certain zone of the pitch and then play actions start to happen. So the left winger will peel off here. Maybe this fullback will tuck in slightly here. Just little triggers of movement based on where players go into certain areas of the pitch. And at City's level, and this is why I think they destroyed us more than Liverpool in terms of their general play, was just the fact that they knew where each other were with their eyes closed. Like Rodri receives the ball in the middle, he knows to swivel very quickly, get his head up, and just ping the ball out to Foden or Gundogan because they've peeled off immediately, and it's still all just instantaneous. They know where the chess pieces are. At Man United, it's just chaos. It's just chaos reigns, and it's the fault completely lays with management, because these are players that have played well before and have played well together before, and how they've gone so out of sync is just simply things that they're not doing on the training pitch. Now, lastly, I will just mention is the management situation on who should replace Solskjaer. Now, I think we have to make a statement. The performances are so bad and so consistently bad now. The way we played against Liverpool, the fact that we played that bad against Atalanta again and deserved to lose, and then obviously have topped it off with the City performance. There's no improvement even with his job on the line. So the sad answer, he's probably going to have to go now. But then what do? I don't want any short-term nonsense. I don't want Zidane in. Like I say, I feel like Zidane, bit of a false perception on his management skills. I think he's a reasonable, probably man manager again. Obviously, he didn't handle that Bale situation particularly well, but like I say, I think he largely benefited from a world-class team with everyone in their primes and kind of a bit of luck going through into those Champions League finals that he won. I don't completely buy him as certainly a long-term option for Man United, and I don't think they should be looking at a short-term option. You don't want to go through this project again. You've got some new signings in with like Varane, Sancho, Van der Beek. With the right manager, could progress nicely. There's still time, and so that being said, the question is whether you give it to a caretaker manager till the summer, whether you ride out Solskjaer till the summer. But I just think the negativity around the club is so strong at the moment that you can't do that. you can't ride it out. I think he's got to go. There's got to be a caretaker manager for a period of time, and you've got to be looking to make inquiries elsewhere. But the two managers for me that are the outstanding candidates are Graham Potter in the Premier League. I know Brighton ended up drawing that game, but just the interplay is absolutely fantastic. Basuma was back for that game, most notably. Obviously a wonderful player, but Lallana, the Lallana that is north of 30 now, that's had injury problems, looks brilliant in a Graham Potter system. That midfield, you think that wouldn't work. Obviously, Basuma's class and can make up for maybe Lallana's sort of deficiencies physically and defensively, but they all seem to know where they are. Like the fullbacks, they push up at just the right times. Not too early, they push up at just the right times. They're not afraid to hit those direct balls to the wing backs at the right time. But like I say, the interplay through midfield, they have the ability to play under pressure, draw some players, and then they get on the transition through quick 1-2s through the midfield. They're just a sublime side that's been... A lot of the players, again, have stayed similar over the few... So it's been a project there under Potter, similar to, again, a Klopp, a Pep to a lesser extent with lesser players. And it's been fantastic. And if they had better finishers, who knows where they would be in the table as well. They're absolutely terrific. And so that would be my option. But, he's not going to do... He's got too much integrity to leave mid-season. So... You've got to wait to the summer with him, and then Ten Hag, obviously, with it again an Ajax squad that's had some player turnover, got some aging players, with their goalkeeper and Daley Blind, for example, Sebastian Haller, who is the striker, had in different performances for West Ham in the Premier League, now looks like an absolute world beater, unbelievable. System that they play at Ajax, that Van der Beek is, but lots of those players that Frankie de Jong, Delights, they all have come from that system and become really expensive signings for clubs around Europe. And he's a terrific manager right at that age as well, where him and Potter, they're right at a time to make the step up. But he's not going to leave Ajax, knowing that Ajax are now in the knockout stages of the Champions League as well. So again, that's a summer job. So the question is, do you go for the outstanding candidates, which I think could really take United on and actually build a positive footballing identity, or do you do something short term? Now, if I was the club and you were going to make a short term decision, I'd be looking to maybe go for a manager that maybe notoriously would leave his club for higher ambitions. Someone like a Brendan Rodgers, I could see him leaving Leicester if someone knocked on his door. That's the type of person that I think he is. He's hyper ambitious, but once he reached United, I think he sees that as the pinnacle, and he'd do his utmost, obviously, to stay there long term. So I don't think he's like a Conte or a Mourinho short term thing that would last like maximum 2 seasons. So yeah, they're my thoughts on the management situation as well, and obviously the performance against City. I would probably give it, caretaker, some kind of caretaker, obviously within the club, and then in the summer be looking to get one of Potter or Ten Hag. But then if it is a short-term decision, then Brendan Rodgers probably is the only one that I can really think of that I would go for. Do you agree? What did you think? Have your say in the comments. Let me know how you feel about it all. Who's blameless in this situation? For example, if you were the manager, who'd you be starting in games like that? What system maybe you want to play? Just let me know. I've had it in the comment section. And thanks very much for listening. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.